Hey there. If you're enjoying this journey through time, please hit that like button and subscribe. Tell me, where in the world are you listening from? And what time is it for you right now? The year is 872, the wind, a biting, relentless force, tears at your exposed skin. It whips across vast, unforgiving plains, kicking up a fine, gritty dust that stings your eyes and grinds between your teeth. The air carries the sharp, earthy scent of damp soil, a constant reminder of the raw, untamed land you traverse. You feel the heavy, sucking grip of mud clinging to your worn leather boots, making each step a deliberate, exhausting effort. With every lift of your leg, you pull against the earth's resistance, a physical testament to the sheer endurance demanding everything from your weary body. This isn't merely walking. It's a profound, unyielding test of will against an indifferent world. Ahead, a scattering of figures, huddled and resolute, trudge on, their shapes blurred by the wind's relentless assault. You catch the rhythmic, low creak of saddle leather from the pack horses, a mournful song accompanying the slow, arduous procession. A low murmur of tired voices drifts back, indistinguishable words swallowed by the vastness, yet carrying the palpable weight of shared struggle and silent resolve. High above, the distant, piercing cries of ravens cut through the desolate silence, like jagged shards of sound, piercing an otherwise empty, endless canvas. Your breath plumes in the frigid air, a cloud of fleeting vapor that dissipates almost instantly. A constant, stark reminder of the physical battle your body wages against nature's brutal cold. Your muscles scream, a deep, persistent thrumming protest echoing from your aching calves up to your shoulders, a dull fire in your bones. This journey, measured in pervasive discomfort, and the gnawing cold that seeps into your very core, is fueled by a single, unwavering promise. The thing, the annual gathering, a vital assembly where justice is sought, feuds are settled, and the future of your community and your own will be decided. You push forward, one heavy, aching step after another, knowing that every single stride, every drop of sweat, every shivering gasp brings you closer to that crucial assembly, to the hope of resolution and the strength of the collective. The path is long, grueling, but the alternative, to simply stop, to give in, is not an option your spirit will allow. This relentless push against the elements, this continuous expenditure of your own vital warmth and energy, reminds you just how much we are forged from both unyielding grit and the most fragile, vulnerable flesh. The sharp aroma of wood smoke, mixed with the musky scent of damp wool and stale travel, assaults your senses as you finally pause. You pull your cloak tighter, feeling the raw, biting cold of the night air trying to seep through the worn fabric. A small, sputtering fire, a beacon in the encroaching darkness, casts erratic, dancing shadows across across the weathered faces of the men and women huddled around it. Their features, etched with the lines of hardship and wind, contort and shift with every flicker, momentarily turning familiar companions into shadowy, watchful figures. You settle into a spot where the meager warmth can reach you, feeling the stiff ache in your joints, protesting the sudden stillness. A low chuckle ripples through the group as one man recounts a tale, his voice a rough rumble in the night. You manage a thin, tight smile, a gesture of participation, but your gaze, like everyone else's, instinctively keeps drifting past the circle of light, scanning the impenetrable blackness beyond. There's a constant, almost unconscious hum of vigilance in the air. Your fingers, calloused and rough, find the familiar, cold weight of your axe hilt, resting lightly on the carved wood, a silent, comforting promise of readiness. It's a reflex, a habit ingrained by a lifetime spent navigating an unpredictable world. The forced camaraderie around the fire feels fragile, a thin shield against the deeper currents of unspoken histories. You catch a knowing glance exchanged between two older men, a subtle tension in the air that speaks volumes more than any words. Old grudges, you understand, don't vanish simply because you share a fire. They lie dormant, just beneath the surface, waiting. Every passing group of travelers, shadowy figures emerging from the gloom like specters, is met with a collective stillness, a wary, assessing gaze from your companions. You watch them, and they watch you, a silent evaluation passing between strangers on a shared, yet perilous, path. A subtle shift in posture, a tightening of grip on a weapon. These are the unspoken languages exchanged. The road to the thing is not just a test of physical endurance. It's a constant, nerve-wracking examination of trust, and the stark understanding that not everyone you meet wishes you well. The fire crackles, its light momentarily dimming, as if acknowledging the fleeting nature of this uneasy truce. In this stark, unforgiving world, even the warmth of shared human presence carries the chill of ever-present caution. As you crest the final rise, a breathtaking, almost overwhelming sight unfurls before you. The horizon isn't empty anymore. It's a vast, sprawling tapestry of makeshift tents, an entire city born overnight from canvas and hides, stretching out across the open land. It's the Thingstead, and it hums with an energy that hits you like a physical force. The air, once crisp and clean, now thickens, assaulting your nostrils with 1,000 new, competing smells. You breathe it all in, the sharp, comforting scent of wood smoke curling from countless cooking fires, mingling with the rich, savory aroma of roasting meat that makes your stomach rumble with anticipation. Beneath that, you catch the musky tang of unwashed bodies, a raw human presence, and the earthy, pungent odor of livestock. The sheep, goats, and cattle brought for trade or sacrifice, their lowing adding to the general din, and through it all, a subtle, metallic tang of sweat, a constant reminder of the sheer labor and life unfolding around you. It's an intoxicating, visceral cocktail of humanity and nature. A cacophony of sound crashes over you, swallowing the quiet you've grown accustomed to on the road. Shouts rise and fall, punctuated by bursts of rough laughter from unseen groups, interspersed with the sharp, terse tones of arguments erupting and fading, the incessant lowing of livestock, the barking of dogs, the distant clang of a hammer, the murmur of 100 conversations blending into one huge, living roar. It all assaults your ears, creating a vibrant, dizzying soundscape. You find yourself turning your head, trying to pinpoint individual noises, but they merge into an indivisible hum of life. The ground beneath your worn boots is no longer solid earth. It's a churned, trampled expanse of mud and dust, softened by the passage of countless feet, hooves, and cartwheels. Each step you take sinks slightly into the disturbed soil, a testament to the sheer, incredible volume of human and animal traffic that has converged here. This isn't a place built to last, but for this brief, vital time, this temporary settlement throbs with a raw, unbridled life, a concentrated force of humanity drawn together for judgment, trade, and fellowship. You are one more thread in this immense, pulsating tapestry. Standing here, amidst this vibrant chaos, you realize how much of life is about these intense moments of convergence. The sheer press of bodies is immediate, almost suffocating. You navigate the crowded, muddy pathways of the Thingstead, your shoulders brushing against rough wool tunics, your boots sinking into the churned earth with every step, the air thick with the scent of countless people, their sweat, their breath, the lingering aroma of ale and damp animal hides creates a dense, living wall around you. Each movement is a careful negotiation, a subtle sway to avoid a collision, a quick sidestep to let someone pass, a constant, low-level effort just to keep moving forward. Your eyes, however, are your true guide. They dart ceaselessly across the sea of faces that stream past. Every single one holds a potential history, a connection to your past or future. You search, you recognize, you try to remember. Is that an old ally? Someone whose family offered shelter during a hard winter? Or perhaps a forgotten enemy, a kinsman of a man whose insult you once swallowed, or whose cattle you grazed too close to, a new rival, a young, ambitious traitor you've heard whispered about, his gaze sharp and assessing as he catches your eye. The recognition, or the deliberate non-recognition, is a vital, silent conversation. You feel the subtle shifts in your own posture, the way your jaw might tighten or your eyes narrow, an unconscious response to the human landscape unfolding around you. Whispers carried on the bustling currents of the throng are like invisible threads, weaving through the air and snagging your attention. You catch fragments, a name, a family, a land dispute. These hushed conversations, seemingly innocuous, are dissecting reputations, fortunes, and the intricate web of feuds that chilling certainty that your own name, your own standing, is being weighed and measured in similar breaths. The pressure is palpable, a heavy cloak you wear, urging you to present yourself with honor, with strength, with a carefully curated image. A single misstep here, an ill-judged word, a moment of weakness revealed, could have lasting, crushing consequences, echoing through your life long after the Thingstead disperses. You observe the subtle glances, a sharp, appraising look that lingers too long, a quick, dismissive flick of the eyes. You see the slight, almost imperceptible nods of respect or acknowledgement, and the abrupt, deliberate turning away of heads, a clear signal of disdain or avoidance. It's a complex, silent dance of social hierarchy, an intricate performance played out in the jostling throng, where every movement and every gaze carries a weight far beyond its simple action. You are part of this grand, unspoken theater, constantly aware of your role, your audience, and the unseen judgment that hangs in the very air you breathe. In this temporary city of ambition and judgment, you realize that your visible self, the face you show the world, is often a profound stillness descends upon the assembly, a sudden, almost sacred hush that presses in on your ears, replacing the cacophony of moments before. You stand shoulder to shoulder with hundreds, perhaps thousands, of others, feeling the collective shift as all eyes turn, all attention focuses. Your breath catches, held in your chest, mirroring the palpable tension that has gripped the crowd. It's a tension born not of fear, but of anticipation, of solemn respect. You watch as the law speaker, a figure etched with the wisdom of seasons and the weight of tradition, ascends the sacred rock. Each slow, deliberate step he takes up the natural stone platform seems to echo in the sudden silence. He pauses, stands tall against the backdrop of the gray, unadorned sky, his silhouette sharp and commanding. The crisp air, once filled with the mundane sounds of the Thingstead, now holds only this shared, expectant quiet. Then, his voice, it emerges, resonant and deep, cutting through the stillness like a carefully honed blade. It's not loud in a shouting way, but carries with a natural, unwavering power that seems to vibrate through the very ground beneath your feet. He begins to recite the ancient laws, the foundational pillars of your society, each word landing with the undeniable weight of generations. You don't just hear the words, you feel their history, their authority, their ingrained presence in the very fabric of your world. These aren't mere rules, they are the bedrock of order, the memory of justice. Your gaze, along with the collective gaze of every man and woman present, is fixed on him, unblinking, unmoving. You can almost feel the collective holding of breath, the stillness of so many bodies, a singular presence united by the gravity of this moment. The tension is a palpable presence in the air, thick and heavy, like the promise of an incoming storm. Yet, it's a controlled, purposeful tension. The vast, unadorned landscape surrounding the Lorok, stretching out to the distant, stark hills emphasizes the raw, undeniable power of this human judgment. There are no grand halls, no elaborate structures, just the open sky, the weathered earth, and the Lorac itself. It's a stark reality, highlighting the pure, unvarnished strength of their community justice system, a system forged from necessity and upheld by collective will. This is where the world is set right, or irrevocably changed, in this moment of profound stillness and ancient recitation. You grasp how deeply your sense of self and community are woven into the very fact the air around you isn't just crisp. It feels thick with an almost tangible presence, a low, resonant hum that vibrates just beneath the threshold of audible sound. A shiver, profound and visceral, traces its way down your spine, not from the cold bite of the wind, but from the overwhelming sense that you are not merely among the living. You feel the weight of countless unseen eyes, the collective gaze of generations of ancestors who stood on this very ground, beneath this same vast sky. Their spirits, a silent, ancient chorus, seem to swirl around the Lorac, lending an even deeper, unshakable gravity to the already solemn gathering. You instinctively pull your worn wool cloak tighter, a quiet acknowledgement of the deep history breathing all around you. Before you, figures step forward, their movements deliberate. You watch as hands, gnarled and strong, are clasped together, palm to calloused palm. Sometimes it's over the cold, unyielding surface of a polished blade, sometimes over the warm, familiar weight of a carved ring, potent symbols of commitment. The sound of their voices, deep and earnest, rises and falls in guttural pronouncements, words whose unwavering intent is unmistakable. Oaths are being sworn. These aren't light promises, they are solemn vows, made before both the visible community and the invisible gods. They bind the future, settle old scores, or forge new, vital alliances that will dictate survival. The sheer conviction hardening their expressions, the unyielding grip of their clasped hands, sends a palpable charge, an almost electric tension, rippling through the entire assembly. You feel it deep in the soles of your feet, a subtle tremor emanating from the very ground, as if the ancient earth itself acknowledges the profound, irrevocable weight of these spoken promises. The damp earth, smelling richly of soil, distant wood smoke, and fresh pine, seems to absorb the profound reverence that now hangs heavy and palpable in the very air. Despite the persistent discomfort of the cold and the often brutal realities of your daily world, a quiet, deep strength settles within you. This steadfast belief in your ancient traditions, this solemn act of communal pledging, and the shared acceptance of its consequences, provides an immovable bedrock of order. It's a structure that offers a profound sense of stability, a shared understanding in an otherwise chaotic and unpredictable existence. In this wide circle of sworn promises, under the watchful eyes of ancestors and gods, you find a deep, enduring purpose, a thread connecting you to every soul gathered here. It's in these moments, surrounded by the echoes of those who came before, and the solemnity of promises made, that you truly begin to understand the enduring, profound power of human commitment. The hushed reverence that held the assembly moments ago shatters, not with a roar, but with a sharp, undeniable crack of human pain. Your gaze, along with 1,000 others, snaps towards the center of the gathering. A lone figure steps forward, their movements stiff, almost mechanical, carving a path through the gathered crowd. You feel the collective shift in the air, a sudden, palpable ripple of anticipation and unease. The individual, a woman you might recognize from a distant hamlet, stands before the law speaker, her face a mask of profound grief, or perhaps a raw, furious anger. When she begins to speak, her voice is not loud, but it trembles, thin and reedy at first, then gaining a guttural strength. It carries the undeniable weight of a wrong suffered, of a deep injustice needing redress. You can't make out her exact words from where you stand, but you don't need to. The raw emotion, the rising pitch of accusation, the almost imperceptible clenching of her fists at her sides. It all speaks a universal language of grievance. You feel a prickle on your skin, the chilling sensation of witnessing someone lay bare their most painful truth before an unforgiving public. Opposite her, another figure stands, their shoulders perhaps a little too rigid, their jaw clenched, or maybe their head bowed low, distraught. This is the accused. You feel the collective gaze of the assembly, a burning, invisible weight that presses down on them, scrutinizing every twitch, every shallow breath. The air around them crackles, thick with the unvoiced judgment of so many eyes. You find yourself holding your own breath, your body tensing, as if bracing for a physical blow. Every subtle gesture, every flicker of their eyes, every strained silence that stretches between the accuser and the accused is scrutinized, weighed, and dissected by the silent court of the community. A slight shrug, a defensive tilt of the head, a sudden, sharp intake of breath. These are the unspoken words that reveal so much or so little. This is the raw, unadorned core of human conflict, laid bare for all to witness. The decisions made here, the truths believed or dismissed, carry the power to shatter lives, to exile, to grant peace, or to condemn. The very air you breathe feels charged with the tension of potential life-altering decisions. Each breath a silent prayer for clarity, for justice, for resolution. In these moments of raw accusation and desperate defense, you understand how thin the veil between order and the air, already thick with the sense of damp earth and humanity, now crackles and roars with a different kind of energy. It's the raw sound of deliberation, a swirling vortex of voices rising and falling around you. You feel the tremor in the ground beneath your feet, not from distant thunder, but from the collective agitation of hundreds of men and women. Voices clash, sharp and passionate, each carrying the conviction of its owner. You strain to catch fragments, your head swiveling, trying to follow the heated arguments that erupt like sudden fires in a dry forest. Hands, gnarled and powerful, gesture wildly in the air, emphasizing points. Faces contort with conviction, anger, or frustration. You watch as men, their beards grizzled with age and experience, step forward, their voices booming with the weight of tradition as they cite ancient laws, old precedents, words passed down through generations. Others, younger, perhaps more impulsive, shout their own opinions, their arguments less rooted in law and more in raw emotion, in personal loyalty or perceived insult. Reputations, carefully built over a lifetime of deeds and words, are thrown onto the invisible scales of judgment. Each whisper, each memory, a stone adding to the weight. The collective gaze of the assembly shifts, a living, breathing current of opinion, swaying first one way, then another. The fate of individuals hangs in this precarious balance, a delicate tension between the complex logic of the law speaker's pronouncements and the underlying, unspoken threat of personal retribution. You see it in the way certain men stand, their shoulders squared, their hands never far from the hilt of an axe. You catch the fleeting, dangerous glint in an eye, the subtle tightening of a jaw, the potential for violence, for the cold challenge of a blade to supersede legal argument is always present. A sharp, unyielding current running beneath the surface of the debate. It's an unspoken counterargument, a final, brutal form of justice waiting to assert itself if the law fails to satisfy. Then, a decision is reached. It might be through the consensus of the law speaker, a collective nod, or perhaps a chilling, wordless agreement that the matter will be settled in a different, more personal way. But either way, it is final. The pronouncement, whatever form it takes, echoes through the assembly, a stark, undeniable truth that forever alters lives. You feel the collective release of breath, the sudden slackening of tension as the outcome settles over the crowd, a new reality forged in the heart of this temporary city. In these moments, as the complex tapestry of law and human will unravels or reweaves, you understand that every decision, every judgment, carves a permanent mark not just on one life, but on the very fabric of the community, and indeed on your own perception of justice itself. The air, which moments ago crackled with the heavy tension of judgment and the unspoken threat of retribution, now loosens, carrying a different kind of promise. Your nostrils flare, drinking in the rich, earthy scent of roasting wild boar, its fat sizzling over open flames, mingling with the sweet, yeasty aroma of brewing ale. It's a primal perfume of satisfaction and sustenance, washing away the metallic tang of fear and argument. You feel the deep, comforting warmth from nearby fires radiating onto your face, a stark contrast to the lingering chill of the Lorok's shadow. A wave of sound washes over you, but this time it's not sharp arguments. It's a symphony of communal life. Laughter, unrestrained and hearty, rings out from countless throats, echoing off the canvas tents. The rhythmic clinking of ceramic tankards and polished drinking horns marks new alliances being forged, old friendships reaffirmed, and the simple joy of shared drink. You see heads thrown back in mirth, arms thrown around shoulders, and the easy smiles that speak of burdens momentarily shed. This isn't the watchful camaraderie of the road, but a genuine, boisterous celebration of survival and community. Beyond the feasting, the Thingstead pulses with purpose. You hear the insistent, rhythmic clang of hammer on anvil, a steady, powerful heartbeat emanating from the smith's tents. Sparks fly in fiery arcs, painting ephemeral patterns against the twilight, as skilled hands shape raw iron into new tools, formidable weapons, or intricate ornaments. The air near them is hot, thick with the smell of scorched metal and sweat, a testament to enduring craftsmanship. Everywhere you look, traders haggle with fervent gestures, their voices a low, insistent hum as goods change hands. Furs, amber, silver, woven wool, a vibrant commerce essential to the dispersed homesteads. You see fingers tracing patterns on cloaks, coins weighed in palms, and the subtle nods of agreement that seal a bargain. As the sun dips lower, painting the sky in fiery hues, flickering firelight becomes the dominant glow. Around these natural beacons, people gather, leaning in close, their faces illuminated as stories are exchanged. You catch snippets of epic sagas, tales of heroic deeds, of distant lands explored, and personal anecdotes that draw gasps or knowing smiles. It's a brief, vibrant interlude, a necessary release after the intensity of the trials. It's a powerful glimpse into the resilient, enduring heart of this community, where joy and commerce naturally follow the stern demands of justice. In these moments of shared revelry and purposeful work, you realize how fundamentally human it is to seek both order and celebration, to find light and connection, even in the most demanding landscapes of life. The Thingstead is dying, not with a sudden collapse, but with a slow, deliberate exhale. You feel the wind, once bustling with 1,000 human sounds, now carrying only the faint, fading echoes of what was. The air is thinner, colder, tinged with the ghost of wood smoke, and the damp, raw scent of disturbed earth. What was once a vibrant, sprawling city of canvas and hides is now a skeletal framework, gradually giving way to the vast, indifferent plains. Tents are struck, canvas rolled, and the ground, still churned and scarred by countless fires, begins to reclaim its natural, wild silence. You watch as figures, once part of a dense throng, now scatter into smaller, more distinct groups, wagons heavy with packed goods, and the silence of departure rumble across the muddy tracks. Horses whinny, less in alarm and more in a quiet anticipation of the open road, the steady clink of a last piece of equipment being secured, the distant bark of a dog, the low murmur of final farewells. These are the only sounds breaking the encroaching quiet. The vibrant chaos has receded, leaving behind a profound sense of emptiness, a ghost of a gathering where life had pulsed so fiercely just days ago. Your own pack feels heavier, not just with your meager belongings, but with the intangible baggage accumulated over these intense days. You feel the weight of friendships forged over shared ale and firelight, now strengthened bonds that will offer support through the long, harsh winter. You carry the unspoken promise of alliances secured, a quiet understanding of mutual aid that will shape your coming season, but you also carry the chilling reality of animosities cemented, the knowledge of new enemies, or old feuds rekindled, which will demand vigilance and caution. And then there's the stark, unyielding finality of judgments rendered, the fates sealed, the lives forever altered. You saw the faces of those condemned, those victorious, and those merely survived, and their outcomes etch themselves into your memory. As you turn your back on the emptying Thingstead, the journey home begins. But you know, with absolute certainty, that no one returns unchanged. The thing's impact, the weight of its decisions, and the bonds it created will resonate through the isolated homesteads and across the scattered lands, shaping destinies and dictating actions long after the last tent is packed. Until the next annual gathering draws everyone back to this ancient, sacred ground. Leaving this place, you understand that while the visible structures may vanish, the intricate web. The year is 895. You wake up in the middle of a medieval longhouse, and the first thing you feel isn't warmth, but a deep, pervasive chill that has seeped into your very bones. It bites at your exposed skin, raising goosebumps along your arms, even beneath the heavy wool blanket. The air you breathe is frigid, sharp, pricking at the back of your throat. With every shallow gasp, you lie still for a moment, sensing the sleeping forms around you, the gentle rise and fall of their breaths, a soft counterpoint to the relentless cold. The communal warmth of so many bodies in the packed space barely cuts through the pre-dawn frost. Your muscles protest, stiff and aching, as you carefully shift. Every joint feels reluctant, slow to respond after the long, cold night. You push the heavy furs aside, a gust of colder air momentarily assaulting you, and swing your legs over the edge of your sleeping platform. The damp earth floor, unforgiving and icy cold, sends a shock straight through the thin soles of your feet. You shiver, pulling your rough woolen tunic tighter around you, feeling the fabric scratch against your skin. The longhouse remains cloaked in profound darkness, broken only by the faintest glimmer from the smoldering embers in the central hearth. A tiny red eye in the gloom, barely offering comfort, you navigate the familiar space with practiced steps, avoiding the shapes of slumbering family members, the piles of tools, the forgotten wooden bowls. The acrid, unmistakable scent of stale wood smoke hangs heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the fire that burned low through the night and now waits to be revived. You kneel at the hearth, your fingers, numb and clumsy, reaching for kindling. You feel the rough texture of dried twigs and bark, hear the faint rustle as you gather them, then the first tentative crack as a tiny spark catches, followed by a fragile, dancing flame. You blow gently, carefully, watching the small fire come to life, its orange glow pushing back against the oppressive darkness, throwing dancing shadows onto the rough-hewn timber walls, the faint whisper of the wood catching, the subtle pop as it begins to truly burn, is the sweetest sound you've heard all morning. As the first tendrils of warmth begin to spread, chasing away the gnawing cold, you realize that the most profound comfort isn't just a sharp, resonant jingle cuts through the quiet gloom, a metallic counterpoint to the soft crackle of the newly roused fire. It's the unmistakable sound of heavy iron keys, a deep, weighty clang that vibrates through the damp air and instantly draws your attention. You watch as a figure stirs from the shadows near the central hearth, rising with a quiet determination that belies the lingering chill. This is the senior woman of the homestead, her silhouette strong and purposeful against the faint, growing light. You feel a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a hushed anticipation settling over the slowly awakening longhouse. Her movements are economical, practiced. She straightens her back, her gaze sweeping across the slumbering forms, the rough timber walls, the organized chaos of the communal living space. It's not just a glance, it's a silent survey, an assessment of her domain. Her fingers, calloused and capable, instinctively go to the heavy ring of keys resting at her hip, a tangible symbol of her unyielding authority. The keys to every store, every locked chest, every vital resource. You follow her with your eyes as she moves towards a stout wooden door set into the far wall. The floor beneath your bare feet is still cold, but the sight of her deliberate steps, the rustle of her wool dress, signals the true start of the day. With a precise, almost ritualistic movement, she selects a key, its cold metal glinting in the faint light, and inserts it into the heavy lock. The thunk of the key turning, the slow, protesting groan of the well-worn wood as the door swings inward, reveals a glimpse into the cool, dark depths of the stores. A faint, earthy scent of preserved meats, dried herbs, and stored grains drifts out, promising sustenance. The hushed murmur of the household begins to rise around you. A child coughs. A man stirs on his sleeping platform. a woman stretches, her joints popping softly. They wait, knowing her actions will dictate the day's first meal, the allocation of resources, the very rhythm of their existence. You see her gestures, quiet instructions given without a word, a nod here, a steady gaze there. You perceive the silent weight of countless daily decisions resting upon her shoulders. How much grain? How much dried fish? Who will attend to which chore? Every single one impacts the survival and prosperity of everyone under this roof. In this moment, as the keys jingle and the household stirs, you understand that true power often resides not in the loudest voice. The heavy wooden door groans shut behind you, instantly plunging you into a dense, chilling darkness. The air hits you first, not just cold, but layered with distinct, powerful aromas that grab at your senses. You breathe it in, a complex tapestry woven from the sharp, briny tang of smoked fish hanging in dark clusters, mingling with the rich, almost sweet pungency of cured meats, their salted surfaces stiff and unyielding. Beneath these, a yeasty, slightly sour scent of fermenting grains rises from stout wooden barrels, while a deeper, earthy smell, the clean, damp tang of root vegetables, permeates everything. It's the profound, immediate scent of survival. Your eyes, straining, slowly adjust to the profound dimness. A single, small slit of a window, high up, offers only a sliver of weak gray light that struggles to penetrate the shadowy depths. You feel the cold seeping through your clothes, a damp, persistent chill that clings to the rough stone walls and settles in your bones. The space feels claustrophobic, packed from floor to ceiling. You can almost reach out and touch the rough-hewn beams overhead, laden with hooks and hanging provisions. Every surface is utilized, every corner filled. You see shelves stacked with dried herbs in bundles, their muted colors barely visible, jars of precious rendered fat, and sacks bulging with dried berries. Below them, heavy wooden bins hold turnips, carrots, and potatoes, their earthy scent strongest at your feet. The senior woman, a silent, purposeful figure beside you, moves with practiced efficiency. Her fingers, strong and knowing, brush past a row of cured hams, their dark skins glistening faintly. She selects a small portion of dried fish, her movements precise, as if each piece is carefully counted, its value understood. There's no wasted motion, no careless grab. You feel the immense, unspoken pressure of this meticulous organization, the constant, low thrum of anxiety that every scrap must last through the long, unforgiving winter. This isn't just food, it's the breath, the warmth, the very life force of the entire household, held in fragile balance. In this cold, scented darkness, you understand that the difference between thriving and starvation is often measured in the foresight. The crunch of gravel underfoot is a rhythmic, almost meditative sound, a stark contrast to the lively, cacophonous market you've entered. You feel the biting wind, a familiar companion, whipping across your exposed face, carrying with it a new array of scents. The sharp, metallic tang of iron from the smith's stall, the sweet, earthy aroma of fresh-cut wood, and the ever-present, musky smell of livestock. You pull your cloak tighter, your gaze scanning the bustling activity around the senior woman of your homestead. She moves with a focused determination through the throng, her eyes sharp and assessing, missing nothing. You see her take in the piled furs, the woven woolens, the gleaming tools laid out on rough wooden tables. You feel the watchful eyes of other traders upon you, upon her, their gazes like invisible weights, measuring, calculating. It's a silent, constant assessment of your group's needs, your potential offerings, your resolve. You sense the subtle power dynamics at play, a delicate dance of observation and veiled intent, where a fleeting glance or a barely perceptible nod can speak volumes. She pauses at a stall laden with homespun cloth. You see her strong, capable fingers reach out, not to simply look, but to feel the rough texture of the wool, assessing its quality, its density, its worth. She leans in, her expression unreadable, as the trader murmurs a price in terms of pelts, or perhaps a measure of grain. There's no clinking of coin here. Instead, it's a careful, strategic negotiation, a direct exchange of tangible value. You hear the lowing of cattle from a nearby pen, the bleating of sheep. There sounds a constant reminder of the fundamental currency of this world: life, sustenance, labor. You watch her. She offers a counter-proposal, a subtle tilt of her head, a gesture with her hand, indicating what she has brought to trade. Perhaps a finely crafted horn, or a basket of dried fish. The trader's eyes narrow, a brief moment of quiet calculation. You feel the tension, the unspoken pressure of needing to secure the best deal, of making every single item count. It's not just about getting what you want. It's about getting what your homestead needs to survive, to prosper, to endure the coming seasons. The success of the entire household rests on these precise evaluations, these shrewd exchanges. She turns a woven piece over in her hands, her expression unchanging. Yet you sense the deep thought, the careful weighing of worth and necessity. In this vibrant, often unforgettable, the primal scream rips through the longhouse, sharp and raw, echoing off the timber beams, and momentarily silencing the mundane sounds of the homestead. It's a sound that vibrates in your chest, instantly twisting your stomach into a knot. You feel a sudden, cold prickle of fear on your skin, even though you're merely a witness. The air itself seems to thicken with an acrid blend of sweat, the metallic tang of blood, and the earthy, unhygienic smell of the longhouse floor. You instinctively lean back, trying to draw a cleaner breath, but the pungent, heavy air clings to you. Near the central hearth, where the fire casts fitful, dancing shadows, a cluster of figures huddles around a birthing woman. You can make out the frantic whispers, hushed pleas, and sharp, urgent instructions that rise and fall around the agonizing cries. The low light paints their faces in stark contrasts: fear, grim determination, and a desperate hope. You see the birthing woman, her body contorted, her face slick with effort and anguish, clutching at rough blankets, her knuckles white. Her struggle is raw, visceral, a battle against overwhelming forces. Amidst this maelstrom of pain and tension, the senior woman of the homestead moves with a chilling calm. Her hands, strong and practiced, are a blur of motion, yet utterly steady. You watch her as she wipes the birthing woman's brow with a damp cloth, her touch firm, reassuring. Her gaze, sharp and unwavering, is fixed on the task, ignoring the chaos and fear that swirls around her. There's no panic in her eyes, only a hardened resolve, a deep well of experience that seems to anchor the entire room. You perceive the immense burden she carries, the weight of not just one life, but two, balanced precariously on her knowledge and skill. You feel the raw, untamed force of life and death playing out before you. The moments stretch, each one pregnant with possibility and peril. The grunts, the gasps, the renewed cries, they all hammer at your senses. You hold your breath, your muscles tense, your own body unconsciously bracing with the birthing woman's efforts. The entire world seems to narrow to this small circle of desperate hope and profound struggle, a stark reminder of how thin the line is between the quiet despair of loss and the ecstatic cry of new life entering this challenging world. As the cries momentarily subside, replaced by a new, smaller sound, you realize that in these moments of profound vulnerability, the quiet is absolute, thick and heavy, pressing in on your ears, far more profound than any silence you've known. It's broken only by the soft, ragged sound of quiet weeping, a hushed, sorrowful chorus that seems to emanate from the very shadows of the longhouse. The air, heavy with unspoken grief, and the damp chill of the morning, also carries a pungent, sharp aroma, a blend of dried herbs, perhaps juniper, yarrow, and bog myrtle, used for cleansing and for masking the inevitable clinging scent of mortality. It stings your nostrils, a clean, almost medicinal smell that speaks of solemn ritual and meticulous preparation. Intertwining with the lingering, faint wood smoke, you stand among the grieving, your breath shallow, your muscles tight with the collective sorrow. Your gaze is drawn irresistibly to the figure lying utterly still on the central sleeping platform, where so much life once unfolded. The body, once vibrant with the warmth of life, is now profoundly motionless, a stark, pale form beneath a thin linen cloth. You perceive the deep, pervasive cold radiating from it, a chilling absence that seems to defy the lingering warmth of the hearth. It's the cold of absolute finality, of an unfillable absence. Around it, other women move with deliberate, hushed efficiency, their faces etched with sorrow, their movements slow and respectful, yet imbued with an ancient, practiced grace. the senior woman, her face a mask of solemn determination that hints at a private, enduring strength, kneels beside the deceased. Her hands, usually so busy with the keys and the hearth, are now performing a different, sacred duty, their every motion imbued with purpose. You watch as she gently, meticulously, cleanses the body with infused water, her touch surprisingly tender, almost reverent, even as she works. Then, with a deep breath, she begins the wrapping. Long, coarse lengths of freshly prepared linen, often woven just for this purpose, are slowly unfurled. You feel the immense, symbolic weight of each fold, each careful tuck, as the body is transformed, slowly, reverently, into a tightly bound, shrouded form. It's a painstaking process, a final, intimate act of care, preparing the beloved for a journey to the realms beyond, a passage from which there is no return. The emotional weight in the longhouse is immense, a crushing burden of loss that settles upon every soul present. You see a young woman nearby, perhaps a daughter or a close kinswoman, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs, her hand reaching out, but not quite touching the shrouded form. The senior woman, her movements never faltering, reaches out a hand, not to console with empty words, but to offer a firm, anchoring touch to the mourner's arm. It's a silent comfort that acknowledges the depth of their shared sorrow, a gesture that says, "I see your pain, and I am here." She is not just honoring the dead. She is actively binding the living, ensuring that even in the darkest hours of grief, the essential order and compassionate care of the community prevail, a testament to her profound role in this profound, quiet ritual. As one life is meticulously prepared for its silent passage, you truly grasp how deeply intertwined sorrow and ceremony. The air in the gathering hall crackles, thick with a tension you can almost taste, sharp as unpolished iron. You sit on a rough wooden bench, the splintered surface pressing against your thighs, as voices rise and fall around you, heated and insistent. It's not the boisterous laughter of a feast, but the strained, guttural sounds of neighbors in fierce dispute. The familiar scent of wood smoke and damp earth is now overlaid with the subtle, acrid tang of human frustration and simmering anger. Your gaze darts between two figures standing in the center, their bodies rigid, their faces flushed with emotion. One man jabs a finger, his jaw tight, while the other clenches his fists at his sides, his eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. This isn't a fight of blades, but of words and ancient grievances. A cattle strayed, a fence broken, a slight imagined or real, now brought before the community. You feel the collective weight of the dispute pressing down on everyone present. Heads nod in agreement with one speaker, then shake in quiet disapproval at the next. There's a palpable undercurrent of expectation, a silent plea for someone to untangle this knotted thread before it snaps. And then she steps forward. The senior woman of your homestead, her movements as calm and steady as always, yet radiating an undeniable authority. Her voice, when it comes, isn't loud, but it cuts through the rising din with a quiet resonance, like a stone dropped into agitated waters. She raises a hand, a subtle, almost imperceptible gesture, and yet the voice is quiet. The fervent gestures lessen. She listens, her eyes unwavering, moving between the disputants, her expression carefully neutral, yet conveying a deep understanding. You see her offer a slight nod to one, then a slow, deliberate turning of her head towards the other, drawing out their unspoken resentments. She doesn't shout or command. Instead, she guides. Her questions are few, but sharp, aimed at the core of the disagreement, seeking not just truth, but common ground. You sense the complex web of relationships in this village, generations interwoven, debts owed, favors granted, and feuds long simmering. Her wisdom isn't just about law, but about people, about knowing the history, the pride, the fear that motivates each man and woman. The fate of harmony in this small, close-knit world hinges on her diplomacy, on her ability to cool heated tempers and weave a solution from frayed threads. She represents the fragile peace that holds your community together. This subtle interplay of power, a distant cry, thin and sharp, rips through the usually quiet morning, carried on the biting wind. It's a sound that makes your blood run cold, a familiar knot of dread tightening instantly in your stomach. Your head snaps up, eyes wide, searching. It's the sound of warning, a single piercing note that shatters the fragile peace of the homestead. You feel a sudden, cold prickle on your skin, the unmistakable chill of fear, mingling with the damp, earthy scent of the longhouse. The air itself seems to thicken with anticipation, a heavy, metallic tang that makes your nostrils flare. The homestead erupts into frantic, desperate motion. You hear children crying, their whimpers quickly hushed by urgent hands, doors slammed shut with heavy, resounding thuds, echoing through the timber walls. The hurried shuffle of feet on the packed earth floor, the nervous snorts of livestock being driven into the secure pen, the anxious bleating of sheep. It all blends into a cacophony of fear and urgency. Your own hands tremble as you instinctively reach for the rough wool of your tunic, pulling it tighter, trying to suppress the shivers that rack your body. Amidst this chaos, she moves, the senior woman of your homestead, her face a mask of terrifying calm, her movements precise and swift. You see her directing, her gaze sweeping across the longhouse, missing nothing. Her hand goes to the heavy ring of keys at her hip, not to open, but to secure, to protect. You feel the coarse, rough texture of heavy timbers as you help push them against the main door, grunting with effort, straining your muscles to slide the enormous wooden bar into place. The final, grinding thunk of the bar seating itself is a small, momentary comfort, a flimsy shield against the unknown. You watch her as she issues quick, sharp commands, her voice low, but carrying an undeniable authority that cuts through the rising panic. She points, she gestures, her eyes constantly scanning for weakness, for anything left exposed. Men are often absent on raids or in the distant fields. Now, it's the women, the older ones, the young boys, who grab what they can. You feel the cold, familiar weight of an axe in your hand. Its polished wood, surprisingly smooth against your trembling palm. Its steel blade, a stark promise of defense. You test its balance, a strange, grounding comfort in its solid presence. She moves from window slit to barricaded door, her determination a palpable force, protecting her family, protecting her keys, protecting the very heart of the homestead against the looming. The rhythmic, comforting thud of the loom fills the longhouse, a steady heartbeat against the background murmur of daily life. You feel the dull vibration through the packed earth floor as the heavy wooden beam is thrown back and forth, weaving new threads into existence. The air carries the faint, clean scent of lanolin from the raw wool, mingling with the ever-present aroma of wood smoke. Your fingers instinctively rub against the rough wool of your own tunic, a tactile reminder of the material that defines so much of your world. You watch as the senior woman of the homestead sits before the upright loom, her back straight, her hands moving with an almost hypnotic grace. Her fingers, calloused from years of work, guide the threads with a precision born of endless practice. Beside her, a young girl, perhaps a grandchild, leans in, her brow furrowed in concentration. Her smaller, less certain hands attempt to mimic the intricate movements, fumbling slightly as she tries to master the delicate dance of warp and weft. The senior woman's gaze, patient and unwavering, shifts between the growing cloth and the girl's earnest efforts, offering a silent correction with a gentle touch to a stray thread, a slight adjustment to a hesitant finger. It's a language understood without words, a transfer of ancient knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Near the hearth, the steady hum of a spinning wheel adds another layer to the symphony of craft. Another woman, her posture relaxed yet focused, draws out fine strands of wool, twisting them expertly into strong, continuous yarn. You see the mounds of raw, unspun fleece, still carrying the faint smell of the sheep, waiting to be transformed. Your own hands yearn to join the work, to feel the soft, yielding fibers take shape. This isn't merely about creating beauty, though the intricate patterns emerging on the loom hold their own stark artistry. This is the very art of survival. Every stitch, every spun thread, every woven cloth means warmth against the biting winter, protection from the elements. The very clothes on your back, you notice a pile of worn garments, patiently being mended, patches carefully stitched over tears, ensuring nothing is ever truly discarded. These hands, endlessly busy, are the hands that sustain, the hands that keep the homestead not just alive, but thriving, ensuring a future through the quiet, diligent work of creation. Watching these hands, old and young, working together, you understand that the deepest wisdom often lies not in grand pronouncements, but in the patient, continuous act of teaching, of creating, and of the mesmerizing dance of firelight paints the faces around you, shifting from ruddy glow to deep shadow with every flicker of the hearth. You feel the comforting crackle and pop of the burning wood, a constant, low murmur that is the true heartbeat of the longhouse now that the day's work is done. The gentle heat radiates outwards, wrapping you in a cocoon of warmth that chases away the lingering chill of the night. The scent of wood smoke, familiar and deep, permeates the air, a natural perfume of home and safety. You are huddled close with the rest of the household, the young, wide-eyed children, the tired men, the busy women. All eyes are fixed on the senior woman who sits by the central hearth, her silhouette framed by the leaping flames. Her hands, usually busy with keys or cloth, are still now resting in her lap. Her gaze is distant, unfocused, lost in a landscape only she can see, drawing from the deep well of memory. Then her voice begins, deep and resonant. It flows over you, not loud, but carrying an unmistakable authority, a texture forged from countless retellings. It's a voice that weaves, that builds, that carries the weight of ages. She recounts tales of ancestors, their deeds and misdeeds, their triumphs and their sorrows, making them as real and present as the fire before you. You lean forward along with everyone else, feeling the shared breath of the listeners, a collective intake of wonder and understanding. You hear legends of gods and giants, of mythical beasts and epic journeys, her words painting vivid pictures in the swirling shadows. Then, without a break, she seamlessly shifts to sagas of your own kin, stories of daring raids, of wise decisions, of hard-won peace. You don't just listen, you feel the stories. You feel the pride in the lineage, the warnings embedded in the mistakes of the past, the lessons whispered from generation to generation. Her voice is the living vessel of history, the keeper of memory for everyone under this roof. It's in these moments, as the firelight dances and her voice fills the vast space, that you truly understand her profound role. She is not just the manager of the homestead's present. She is the guardian of its past, the cultural heart that beats strong, connecting everyone to a shared heritage, to the very essence of who you are. This oral tradition, passed down through the ages, is as vital as the food in the larder, as precious as the warmth of the fire itself. As the stories unfold, stretching into the deep quiet of the night, you realize that while others may manage the physical needs of life, the year is 867. You wake up, not to an alarm, but to the subtle shift of pre-dawn light filtering through the smoke hole of your small wattle-and daub home. The air is still cool, carrying the familiar, comforting scent of yesterday's lingering hearth fire and the damp earth beneath your sleeping furs. A quiet morning, just like countless others, is beginning to stir around you. You hear the distant, familiar crowing of a cock, the gentle lowing of a cow, and the rhythmic, steady thump-thump of someone in a nearby house, already kneading dough for the morning bread. You stretch, feeling the pleasant stiffness in your limbs, a natural protest against the coming day's labors, and begin to push yourself up, anticipating the familiar, peaceful rhythm of your simple village life. Then it shatters, a single guttural shout, rough and terrifying, rips through the fragile quiet, cutting deep into the morning calm. It's followed almost instantly by another, much closer, laced with raw, unadulterated terror. Your heart leaps into your throat, a sudden, cold knot of dread seizing your gut, twisting it tight. A cacophony erupts, not the sounds of awakening, but a terrifying chorus of screams, of frantic, desperate cries, both human and animal, from every direction. You scramble to your feet, your bare feet slipping on the dewy, cold grass as you lurch towards the flimsy wooden door, instinctively trying to see, to understand. The air, once cool and relatively clean, is now suddenly thick, pungent, with the acrid, choking smell of wood smoke, rapidly growing stronger, burning at the back of your throat, making your eyes water. Dark, hulking figures, faces shadowed by crude iron helmets, surge through your peaceful village, moving with brutal, efficient speed. The glint of steel flashes, sharp and terrifying, catching the first burgeoning flames that are already licking greedily at the dry thatch roofs of your neighbors. You hear the sickening crunch of splintering wood as a nearby door is violently kicked in, followed by a renewed burst of piercing screams, unbearable in their sudden, tragic intimacy. Panic seizes you, a cold, paralyzing wave. You stumble back, your breath ragged, rasping in your chest, your vision blurring with terror and the unexpected heat of the growing fires. The ground beneath your feet vibrates with the heavy, purposeful thud of countless boots, with the desperate, futile struggles of your kin, rough, calloused hands, smelling of unfamiliar sweat, of salt and cold iron, suddenly grab you from behind, strong and unyielding. You taste the bitter grit of dust and raw desperation in your mouth as you are roughly pulled. The world spins, dissolving into a maelstrom of brutal violence, guttural shouts in an unknown tongue, and the undeniable, horrifying reality that everything you knew, everything you held dear, every thread of your quiet life is being irrevocably shattered around you, leaving only chaos and smoke in the span of mere heartbeats. The fragile tapestry of peace can be torn apart. The rough, calloused hands that grabbed you in the chaos of your burning home do not release. Instead, you feel the brutal, searing bite of ropes as they cinch around your wrists, cutting deep into your flesh. The coarse fibers dig relentlessly into your skin, a burning pain that replaces the numb shock of the raid. You try to pull, to twist, but the binds are unyielding, and the pain intensifies with every futile struggle. A brutal yank on your arm, and suddenly something cold, heavy, and metallic clamps around your neck. The metallic chill of fresh iron The unyielding weight of a new collar instantly sends a shudder through your entire body. A cold promise of utter subservience. It's not just a physical restraint. It's a visceral, chilling declaration of your stolen freedom. You stumble forward, dragged mercilessly by unseen hands, your feet scuffing and scraping against the debris of your shattered home. The splintered wood, the scattered remains of what was once familiar. Each step is a struggle against the relentless pull, a test of your numb, aching muscles. You are no longer moving of your own will. You are merely an object propelled forward. The smoke, still thick and acrid, burns in your lungs, clinging to your tongue, making every desperate breath taste of ash and fear. You catch glimpses of other figures, similarly bound, similarly driven, their faces slack with terror or grim resignation, their eyes reflecting the same overwhelming sense of loss that grips you. The cacophony of screams and shouts has dulled, replaced by the relentless thud of heavy boots and the low, guttural grunts of your captors. You are part of a despairing herd, pushed and shoved through what remains of your village towards the shore. The rhythm of your forced march is relentless, unceasing. You feel the sharp sting of debris underfoot, the cold dampness of the earth as you are pulled ever onward. The wind, once a familiar comfort, now feels like a mocking whisper, carrying away the last traces of your former life. Ahead, through the haze of smoke and tears, the enormous, dark hulls of the longships loom, silent, sleek predators waiting at the water's edge. Their dragon-headed prows seem to mock your terror, their painted eyes gleaming in the dawn light. You hear the rhythmic splash of oars hitting the water, the low creak of timbers, a sound that promises an unknown, terrifying future. A violent shove, and you're forced over the gunwale, landing hard on the rough, uneven floor of the ship. The sickening lurch as the vessel sways beneath your feet sends a wave of nausea through you. Surrounded by the cold, unforgiving wood and the harsh faces of your captors, your world has shrunk to this small, swaying prison. Your sense of identity, of belonging, of everything you once were, is violently stripped away, leaving only an aching void. In this chilling moment, as the rhythmic pull of the oars begins to carry you further and further from everything you know, you feel the profound, brutal truth that freedom is not merely a choice, but a precious, fragile gift that can be snatched away in the blink of an eye, leaving only the cold weight of iron and an endless, unknown journey. The world is a relentless, dizzying churn. You feel the constant, sickening pitch and roll of the longship beneath you, a ceaseless sway that grinds your bones against the rough, splintered timbers. There's no solid ground, no steady moment, just the endless, nauseating undulation of the ocean. You are crammed shoulder to shoulder, knee to knee with other captives, a desperate, silent mass of humanity. Your bound wrists throb with a dull, insistent ache. The raw skin chafed by the unyielding rope. The cold iron collar around your neck feels like an anchor, pulling you down, an unshakable reminder of your brutal reality. The air is a cloying, suffocating blend of everything foul. The pungent stench of unwashed bodies, of fierce sweat, of stale vomit, mixes with the damp, heavy aroma of stagnant bilge water and the metallic tang of dried blood. Each breath you draw is a shallow, desperate struggle against this oppressive miasma. Above you, an open sky, often gray and unforgiving, allows the biting spray of the sea to lash across your face. You feel the icy sting of salt water on your lips, drying to a crust, intensifying the gnawing thirst that has become a constant companion. Your tongue feels thick, swollen, scraped raw by the parched dryness in your mouth. Hunger, a hollow, insistent ache, twists your gut, a deeper, more primal pain than any rope burn. You close your eyes, trying to block out the blurred vision of the endless, gray horizon, but the internal void remains. The chill of the open sea seeps into your very bones, an insidious cold that no amount of huddled bodies can truly dispel. Your teeth chatter, an involuntary percussion against the rhythmic creak of the ship's timbers, the slapping of waves against the hull, and the guttural shouts of the warriors. Their voices, harsh and alien, are a constant, terrifying presence. You strain to understand, but their words are a foreign torrent, utterly incomprehensible, emphasizing your profound isolation. You are an object, a burden, adrift in a world you don't understand, with a fate you cannot begin to imagine. The hours bleed into days, each one a torment of cold, hunger, and endless motion. Your body becomes a numb vessel, reacting only to the violent lurches of the ship, the sporadic, meager rations thrown your way, and the terrifying, unknown language echoing around you. You are stripped of agency, adrift not just on the waves, but in a vast, terrifying ocean of uncertainty, where every splash of water, every creak of the ship, screams of a life forever stolen. This endless, brutal journey reminds you how quickly comfort and control can dissolve, leaving you utterly at the mercy of forces greater. The deck of the longship lurches one final, sickening time. But this time, it's against something solid. A new sound assaults your ears, not the rhythmic creak of timber or the slap of waves, but a roaring, chaotic cacophony of human voices, animal cries, and the clang of metal. The biting wind still whips across your exposed skin, but now it's coupled with the harsh, unfiltered glare of sunlight, stinging your eyes after days of dim confinement. You squint, trying to focus, as you are roughly shoved from the ship, stumbling onto a bustling, muddy shoreline. The ground, blessedly solid yet uneven, feels alien beneath your numb feet. You're jostled, pushed, herded like livestock. The air here is a dizzying, overwhelming brew, the sharp tang of countless drying fish, the unfamiliar, heady scent of exotic spices, the heavy, earthy smell of too many bodies, human and animal, all mingling with the salty spray of the sea. Your iron collar still bites, but now it's a visible badge of your new reality, drawing the cold, appraising eyes of the throng. You feel their gazes, 1,000 invisible hands, dissecting your frame, your every movement. Raw shame, hot and consuming, floods through you, burning brighter than the harsh sun on your bare arms. You try to shrink within yourself, to become invisible, but there's nowhere to hide in this crushing press of bodies. A rough hand, smelling of fish and leather, clamps onto your shoulder, spinning you around. Cold eyes, a piercing blue, scrutinize your face, then trace down your body. You feel a finger prod your arm, testing the muscle. Another grasp your chin, forcing your head up, tilting it left and right, as if examining a piece of pottery. Your throat tightens, a silent scream caught in your chest. The voices around you are a ceaseless, alien clamor of guttural shouts and sharp exclamations. The strange tongue of hagglers and buyers, their tones rising and falling in rapid, incomprehensible exchanges. You catch the occasional word, thrall, strong, price. Each one a hammer blow to your rapidly diminishing sense of self. You watch as others, fellow captives from your village, are subjected to the same demeaning inspections, their eyes meeting yours for a fleeting moment, filled with the same desperate, powerless plea. A sense of crushing, sickening certainty settles deep within you. You are just another piece of merchandise, stripped of dignity, reduced to a collection of sinew and bone, valued only for the labor you can provide. Your name, your history, your very being, dissolved in the indifferent gaze of the market. Standing there, exposed and inspected, you realize that the deepest wound, the rough, unyielding handle of the primitive hoe, grinds into the raw skin of your palm. You feel the constant, dull ache in your shoulders, a deep, persistent burn in your lower back that never truly subsides. Every single swing, every forceful chop into the stubborn, cold earth demands everything from your body. The scent of turned soil, damp and heavy, fills your nostrils, mingling with the metallic tang of your own sweat. It's an endless, monotonous rhythm of toil, a grim ballet of exertion and pain. Whether it's the biting cold of a winter field, where frost nips at your exposed ears and fingers turn numb even through thin leather, or the scorching, relentless sun on a construction site, baking the rough stones beneath your hands, the labor is always the same, back-breaking, soul-crushing. You feel the brutal weight of heavy stones, uneven and sharp, pressing into your arms as you heave them into place, building a wall that will offer shelter to others, but not to you. The cold iron collar around your neck chaves, a constant, physical reminder of your status. Its weight a metaphor for the burden you carry. Your breath comes in ragged gasps. Each exhale a small plume of vapor in the frigid air. Each inhale a struggle against the dust and effort. Your muscles scream in protest, a symphony of aches and spasms that has become your constant companion. Your knees crack, your back protests, but you cannot stop. You dare not. You feel the piercing, watchful gaze of your master, a silent threat that hovers over every movement. You sense the ever-present threat of the whip, a silent lash waiting to fall if your pace falters, if your strength wanes, if your will breaks. The sharp crack of it, heard in the distance, makes your shoulders flinch, even when it's not meant for you. It's a sound that drills deep into your bones, a chilling reminder of the consequences of failure. The raw feel of the rough earth, the cold, unyielding stone, the splintering wood of tools. These are the only textures you know, the constants in a life utterly devoid of comfort or softness. The sun rises, you labor. The sun sets, you collapse, only to rise again with the same aching body, the same unyielding demands. Every fiber of your being is pushed relentlessly to its absolute limits until consciousness itself is a dull thrum of exhaustion. In this relentless grind of earth and stone, where every ounce of strength is extracted, you learn the stark, brutal truth that the human spirit, even when utterly broken, still finds a way to endure. One ache, the pervasive scent of wood smoke, thick and cloying, never leaves your clothes, never truly clears from your nostrils. It's a constant, heavy blanket in the longhouse, mixed with the simmering aromas of cooking food gruel, dried fish, bubbling stew, and the distinct, musky scent of too many unwashed bodies. You move with a practiced, weary efficiency, your steps silent on the packed earth floor. The cold iron collar, a permanent fixture, chafes at your neck with every bend and turn. A dull, ever-present reminder, your hands, raw from rough labor and cold water, instinctively tend the central hearth. You feel the fine, gritty ash beneath your fingers as you rake it, carefully stirring the embers, blowing gently until a new flame, fragile yet determined, springs to life. The fleeting warmth on your face is a cruel comfort, a momentary respite before the next task demands your attention. You lift a heavy, damp bucket, the icy water sloshing against your bare legs as you carry it to the food preparation area. The rough textures of root vegetables, cold and earthy, scrape against your skin as you scrub them clean. Your movements are fluid, automatic, born of endless repetition, yet your awareness is always heightened. You feel the weight of their gaze. The household master, a hulking presence on the high bench, his eyes occasionally flicking towards you from beneath his heavy brow. The mistress, her posture rigid, her needlework never ceasing, her peripheral vision a silent, unforgiving whip. There is no personal space, no corner truly your own. Every action, every gesture is potentially observed, judged. You exist in their constant periphery, a living tool, an extension of their will. The tension is a constant thrum beneath your skin, a silent hum of anxiety that dictates your every breath, your every carefully muted step. The paradox gnaws at you. The warmth of this hearth, the sustenance of this food, the shelter of this longhouse, these are all provided by the very people who tore your world apart. This cruel comfort, This fragile lifeline comes from the source of your suffering. You serve them, you feed them, you ensure their comfort, your hands performing the tasks that keep their lives ordered, while your own remains irrevocably shattered. It's a bitter, silent bargain for survival, trading dignity for existence. To live within the walls that hold your captors, to find the dull, persistent ache in your shoulders, is a constant companion, a heavy cloak you wear even when your hands are briefly idle. You stand, momentarily paused from mending a worn fishing net, the coarse twine scratching at your already raw fingertips, the familiar, ever-present scent of damp earth, wood smoke, and the faint, musky odor of livestock fills your nostrils, the smell of your new, brutal reality. Your eyes, trained to scan for the slightest sign of your master or mistress, sweep across the longhouse, the rough timber walls blurring into a monotonous pattern. Then a whisper of a breeze drifts through an open vent, carrying with it a scent so faint, so unexpected, that your breath catches. It's the delicate, sweet perfume of wild meadowsweet, a flower that blossoms by the banks of the river back home. It's barely there, fleeting, yet it hits you with the force of a physical blow. Instantly, the rough twine in your hands vanishes. The smoky longhouse melts away. You are standing, not here, but there, by the clear, gurgling river of your childhood, the sun warm on your face, the gentle hum of bees in the air. You hear the forgotten, lilting notes of your mother's lullaby, soft and melodic, carried on that same sweet breeze, a sound that resonates deep in your bones. You close your eyes, desperately trying to hold on to it. You can almost feel the imagined touch of a loved one's hand, soft and warm, intertwined with yours as you walked through those sun-dappled fields. You see the vibrant green of the grass, the iridescent gleam of fish in the clear water, the easy laughter of children playing. It's a world vibrant with color, alive with sound, soft with warmth. A profound longing, sharp and exquisite, tears at your gut, a hollow ache where happiness used to reside. This fleeting moment of memory is a brutal, double-edged blade, a gift of beauty, and a searing reminder of everything you have lost. But the reality is relentless. The whisper of the breeze dies, and the scent of meadowsweet vanishes. The rough twine is once again in your hands, biting. The low, guttural murmur of unfamiliar voices in the longhouse pulls you back. The cold iron collar presses against your neck, a heavy, unyielding weight. The raw, rough texture of the longhouse timbers reasserts itself. The chasm between the vivid, sun-drenched memory and your present, shadowed bondage is vast, agonizing. You force your eyes open, blinking back the sudden sting of tears. You continue to mend the net, your fingers moving automatically. But now, a fragile, fierce ember burns deep within you. It's the ember of your original identity, a silent battle to keep that remembered warmth alive, a shred of yourself fiercely protected from the consuming cold of your new existence. In these fleeting glimpses of what once was, you discover the enduring, undeniable power of memory, a silent battleground where the past fiercely fights to keep the spirit from being entirely extinguished. The damp, clinging cold permeates your coarse wool tunic, settling deep in your bones. Your hands, raw and chapped, continue their endless task of scrubbing the rough wooden floor of the longhouse. The acrid scent of lye and stale water burning your nostrils, the low hum of distant voices, the purposeful creak of timbers, the occasional sharp bark of a dog. These are the only sounds that break the monotony of your labor. You feel the constant, dull ache in your muscles, a familiar companion that rarely leaves. The cold iron collar around your neck is a perpetual weight, a cold, undeniable reminder of your stolen life, its metallic tang sometimes reaching your tongue. Your gaze, usually kept downcast to avoid drawing attention, drifts for a fleeting moment to the figure working opposite you. Another thrall, their back is bent, their movements as weary and rote as your own. For a split second, their eyes lift, catching yours across the dim, smoky expanse of the longhouse. It's a stolen glance, quick and dangerous, yet in that brief, imperceptible flicker, you see it, a shared understanding, a profound weariness, and a spark of something resilient. There's no need for words. The connection, a fragile thread woven between two souls, forms and dissolves in the blink of an eye. But for that moment, you are not alone. Later, as the meager, watery gruel is distributed, you feel a calloused hand brush yours a little too long. A subtle shift, and a tiny, precious crumb of dried bread, hard and cold, is pressed into your palm before the hand retreats. The act is small, almost imperceptible, yet the warmth of that illicit connection, the rebellious act of sharing, fills your chest with a desperate, unfamiliar warmth. You pocket the crumb, its rough texture a secret comfort against your skin, a silent defiance against the constant hunger. The tension in the air is a palpable thing. The master's heavy boot falls, the mistress's sharp gaze. Any detection would mean swift, brutal punishment. Your movements remain outwardly subservient, but inside, a tiny spark of rebellion, of shared humanity, fiercely burns. At dusk, as the weary thralls gather in their cramped, allocated space, a low, shared sigh ripples through the huddled figures. The cold wind whistles through the cracks in the longhouse walls, and the distant, guttural shouts of the masters recede. In this moment, no one speaks. There's a collective silence, heavy with shared suffering, yet paradoxically comforting. You feel the rough wool of a neighbor's cloak pressed against yours, the subtle, shared vibration of their slow, tired breaths. It's a silent communion, a wordless acknowledgement that you are all here together, surviving. This unspoken understanding, this fragile network of humanity, is a precious, hidden strength in an isolating world. In these small, dangerous acts of connection, these fleeting moments of shared humanity, you discover that the spirit, even when bound by iron, still finds ways to whisper its defiant truth. The dull ache in your hands, once a sharp protest, has settled into a persistent thrum beneath the skin, a constant, low-level pain that never truly recedes. You lift your arm, feeling the stiffness in your shoulder, the slow creak of bones that feel decades older than they should. Your fingers, gnarled and thick, bear the scars of countless tasks. Each cut, each callus a silent testament to years of unyielding labor. You catch a fleeting glimpse of your reflection in a bucket of cold water, the surface shimmering with reflected firelight, and the face that stares back is etched with lines of weariness, the eyes sunken, the hair streaked with premature gray. It's a stranger, and yet it is irrevocably you, irrevocably changed. The cold iron collar, once a shocking, hateful weight, is now just a familiar pressure, a part of your skin, its metallic tang an ordinary taste on your tongue. The seasons have turned countless times since your capture. You remember the biting cold of one winter, the relentless sun of another summer, all blurring into an endless cycle of toil. You feel the rough wool of your tunic, perpetually damp, perpetually worn, a second skin against your tired body. The scent of wood smoke, of damp earth, of stale straw. These are the only fragrances of your life now, unchanging, all-encompassing. You watch a small child, a girl perhaps, or a boy, barely old enough to walk steadily, already attempting to grasp a small, rough wooden tool. Their tiny hands, soft and unscarred, mimic the movements they see around them, learning the rhythm of servitude before they even know the meaning of freedom. A bitter, cold pang twists in your gut, a familiar sensation that tightens your chest. You see their future unfolding, stark and inevitable, a reflection of your own past. The iron collar, the calloused hands, the bowed head. It will be theirs, just as it is yours. There is no legacy here, no tales of heroism, no name to be carved into memory, only the unbroken chain of labor, passed from one generation of thralls to the next. The prospect of freedom, once a burning, desperate dream, has faded to a distant, impossible whisper, a cruel illusion you no longer dare to entertain. The cold grip of inevitability has settled, not as a sudden blow, but as a slow, creeping chill that permeates every part of your being. It's the quiet understanding that this life, this relentless cycle of toil and subservience, will simply continue long after your body finally gives out, carried on through the weary, uncomplaining hands of your children and their children after them. This profound, quiet certainty that your entire existence will serve only to fuel a system that denies you agency and legacy. The crushing weight of exhaustion is a familiar shroud, but today it feels heavier, colder, pressing down on your very bones. You lie on your straw pallet, the rough, dry stalks poking uncomfortably through your threadbare tunic. Yet you lack the will to shift. Your muscles, long accustomed to the daily grind of earth and stone, now ache with a deep, pervasive weariness that refuses to yield. Every joint protests with a dull throb, a constant reminder of years of relentless labor. The cold iron collar, once a hateful burden, is now merely a part of you. Its metallic chill a numb companion. The scent of stale straw, damp earth, and distant wood smoke fills your nostrils. The only aromas your world offers, your body wants to give in to simply cease. But your mind, stubborn and defiant, begins its silent, desperate journey. You close your eyes, shutting out the dim, smoky reality of the longhouse, the rough timber walls, the indistinguishable shapes of other slumbering thralls. For a precious, fleeting moment, you allow yourself to dream. You imagine the feel of soft, sun-warmed grass beneath your bare feet, not the packed, cold earth. You breathe in the sweet, clean scent of a summer meadow, carried on a gentle breeze, not the suffocating air of servitude. You taste the sharp, tangy sweetness of a wild berry, plump and ripe, not the bland, watery gruel that sustains your meager existence. You hear the distant, joyous laughter of children, children you remember, children of your own kind, their voices free and unburdened by iron. The injustice, deep and searing, twists in your gut. Why you? Why this unending cycle of brutal toil, far from everything you once knew, everything you loved? The longing for peace, for release, is a powerful current pulling at you. A siren's song. Perhaps death is the only true freedom, the ultimate, inescapable release from this cruel reality. A quiet, final surrender to the cold embrace of the earth. You can almost feel the gentle fading, the welcomed oblivion, a profound rest that your body so desperately craves. But then a flicker, a memory sharp and unbidden of your own mother's face, strong and determined, her eyes mirroring a spirit that refused to break. You feel the ghost of her touch, firm and comforting, a silent challenge against despair. The dream of freedom, impossible and foolish, asserts itself, not as an escape, but as a defiance. It's a desperate, almost suicidal hope, a tiny ember in the overwhelming cold, a refusal to let the brutal reality extinguish the last shred of who you once were. You cling to it, a fragile, defiant thought against the overwhelming brutality of your life. The year is 880. You wake up, not in a bed, but in the thick, smoky air of a chieftain's hall, your heart hammering against your ribs. The potent scent of last night's roasting meat still hangs heavy, mingling with the sweeter, slightly sour aroma of stale ale, a pervasive warmth from the central hearth clinging to everything. Around you, men stir, their movements slow and deliberate, their faces grimly serious under the flickering, unsteady torchlight that casts dancing shadows on the rough-hewn timber walls. The hall, usually a place of boisterous feasting, feels charged with a different, hushed anticipation. Your palms, slick with sweat despite the cool air in the deeper corners of the hall, clench instinctively around the heavy silver arm ring you hold. It's cold against your skin, its intricate carvings pressing into your flesh. a tangible weight that feels almost unbearable. You feel the coarse, scratchy texture of your wool tunic against your bare arms, a constant, minor discomfort that grounds you in this tense moment. Every eye in the hall, it seems, is upon you, a collective gaze that feels like a physical pressure, scrutinizing your every breath, your every involuntary tremor. Near the central hearth, where the fire casts its most insistent glow, stands the elder, his figure stoic and unmoving. His voice, when it begins, is gravelly with age and experience, yet it carries a profound resonance that cuts through the hushed tension, filling the space. He recites the ancient oath, each word a heavy stone, each phrase a link in an unbreakable chain. You don't just hear the words, you feel them, vibrating in your chest, echoing the deep, immutable promises they represent. This isn't just a formality, it's a sacred pact, a binding word that will forever alter your path, witnessed not just by these grim-faced men, but by the very gods themselves. The very air around you feels thick with the weight of this impending commitment, a covenant that will dictate allegiances, feuds, and loyalties for a lifetime. Perhaps even beyond. You take a shaky breath, the cold metal of the arm ring now a burning brand in your grip, knowing there is no turning back. In this moment of profound, hushed tension, as the ancient words of the oath bind you, you realize that true freedom isn't always a choice to be made. The silence that falls around you is unlike any you've ever known. It's not the hushed reverence of a sacred moment, nor the quiet peace of a long night. Instead, it's a heavy, chilling absence of sound, a suffocating vacuum that swallows the familiar murmurs of the hall. You feel it press in on your ears, a profound, deafening quiet that screams louder than any shout. The pervasive scent of stale ale and wood smoke now feels tainted, cloying. As you step from the central gathering, the very air seems to recoil. Whispers, sharp and venomous, follow you like daggers, slicing through the unnatural stillness, though no one dares speak them directly to your face. You feel their heat on your neck, their cold intent, a palpable presence. Every gaze that meets yours quickly, deliberately, averts itself, sliding away as if you carry a plague. Faces that were once friendly, or at least neutral, now contort with a mixture of fear, disgust, and outright condemnation. You navigate the once bustling pathways of the marketplace, but where there was once a jostling press of bodies, a sudden, inexplicable emptiness now blossoms around you. People subtly shift, creating a wide berth, a living wall of avoidance. You feel the cold wind, which used to merely chill your skin, now bite with an almost personal, malevolent sharpness, as if the very elements judge you. The distant cries of gulls, usually a comforting sound from the fjord, now seem to mock, their shrill calls echoing your sudden, profound isolation. Your breath catches in your throat, a raw, ragged rasp against the silence. The warmth of the community, once a comforting shield that promised safety and belonging, is gone. In its place, you feel a burning judgment, radiating from every averted face, every hushed whisper. It's a heat that scalds your soul, a public shaming more searing than any flame. Your hands, which just moments ago gripped the silver arm ring with such desperate hope, now feel empty, cold, and utterly useless. You are stripped bare, not of clothing, but of trust, of reputation, of your place in the world. The visceral vulnerability of a man branded an oath-breaker consumes you, a profound exposure that leaves you feeling raw, exposed, and utterly alone. Your very presence, a broken promise made manifest, is now perceived as a threat. In a world where bonds of kinship, of fealty, of a sworn word are the very fabric of existence, you understand now, under the stark, unforgiving expanse of the open sky, your breath mists in the cold air, a fragile cloud against the vastness. You stand, not alone, but with another man, his face set with a grim resolve that mirrors your own, the sharp, metallic scent of fresh iron, newly forged, and still carrying the faint tang of the blacksmith's fire, cuts through the earthy smell of the turf beneath your feet. It's a clean, almost brutal smell, a promise of something profound. Before you, an elder, his hands steady and experienced, presents a shared blade. You feel the rough, cool wind biting at your exposed skin, but a deeper cold, a prickle of anticipation, runs down your spine. With the precise, deliberate movement, the blade flashes. A sudden, searing pain blossoms on your forearm as a warm, crimson line springs to life. Welling from the fresh cut, you bite back a gasp, your muscles tensing, the pain a sharp, undeniable declaration. Immediately after, you watch as the same blade draws an identical line on the other man's forearm, a mirroring act of sacrifice. Then, with a shared, unspoken understanding, you both press your bleeding wounds together. The raw, biting pain is momentarily forgotten, eclipsed by the profound, almost dizzying sensation of skin meeting skin, of warmth mingling with warmth. Your blood, a primal, potent stream, flows together, one life force joining another, binding your fates in an ancient, irrevocable union. You feel the distinct pulse of the other man's blood, a silent, powerful thrum against your own, a tangible connection forming between you. This isn't merely a symbolic gesture. It's a profound, visceral merging, a forging of chosen kinship, stronger, perhaps, than any accident of birth. A coarse drinking horn, its rim rough against your lips, is pressed into your hand. You feel its weight, the cold, smooth texture of polished bone. You take a deep draught of the ale, its bitter taste filling your mouth, yet it feels strangely sweet, invigorating. The liquid slides down your throat, a final seal on the pact, a shared communion. The powerful, almost dizzying rush that follows isn't just from the ale. It's from the unshakable certainty of this newly formed bond, this unbreakable promise. You have chosen this man, and he has chosen you in blood and in spirit. In this raw, ancient ritual. As blood mingles and oaths are sworn, you grasp a chilling blast of a war horn rips through the quiet morning, shattering the fragile peace of the longhouse. It's not the familiar local signal for a stray animal or a distant traveler. This is deeper, more resonant, a sound that vibrates in your chest and makes the hairs on your arms stand on end. You feel the cold dread coil in your gut, an icy knot tightening with the knowledge of what that sound truly means. It's the call to arms, not for your own family squabble, but for a distant, powerful jarl, a man to whom your husband has sworn a binding oath of fealty. The longhouse erupts into frantic, urgent motion. You hear the hurried scramble for weapons, the metallic clang of steel on steel as axes and swords are snatched from their racks. Panicked whispers ripple among the women, hushed and terrified, asking questions no one dares answer aloud. The air, already heavy with wood smoke and the dampness of an approaching storm, now carries the sharp, metallic smell of fresh rain on cold steel, a brutal perfume of impending conflict. You see your husband, his face grim and set, his jaw tight, his eyes distant, already seeing the battlefield. You watch as he straps on his armor, each movement deliberate, heavy with an unspoken burden. The leather straps creak, the iron plates clatter, sounds that resonate with the weight of a promise he cannot, will not break. His hands, usually so strong and steady, seem to tremble slightly as he fastens his sword to his hip, a silent admission of the danger he faces. You feel the profound precariousness of your own existence, your future utterly dependent on the outcome of a distant battle, fought for another's ambition, for an oath sworn by your husband alone. A quiet fear gnaws at you, constant and insistent, the gnawing uncertainty of his return. Will he walk back through that door, or will you be left to face the world alone, a widow beholden to a powerful jarl for the sake of a promise? You imagine the clash of steel, the shouts, the brutal reality of a distant field, all of it unfolding far from your sight, yet determining every breath you take. This powerful, demanding oath, sworn by your husband, casts a long, chilling shadow over your life, binding you to a fate you never chose, a consequence of an alliance made long before you ever entered this hall. In this moment of profound uncertainty, as the men march off to fulfill an oath made for another, you realize that some promises, though not your own, can shape your entire. The long journey ends not with relief, but with a profound sense of disorientation. You stand on the threshold of an unfamiliar longhouse, its smoky interior a swirling labyrinth of shadows and strange faces. The air, heavy and thick, assaults your senses. The acrid tang of wood smoke, so much stronger than your own home's, mingles with the rich, savory aroma of simmering stew and the musky, unfamiliar scent of unwashed bodies. It's an overwhelming, alien blend that makes your stomach clench. You shrink into yourself, pulling your travel-worn clothes tighter around your thin frame. rough texture of the wool, chafed and stiff from days on the road, scratches uncomfortably against your skin, a physical manifestation of your unease. Your eyes dart, trying to make sense of the new surroundings. Unfamiliar tools hang on the walls. Strange patterns are carved into the benches, and the fire itself seems to burn with a different intensity. Every glance you receive, every shifting shadow, every murmur of conversation feels like a subtle assessment, a weighing of your presence. A harsh, booming laugh erupts from a large man by the central hearth, his voice deep and booming like a distant thunderclap. This is your foster father. You flinch instinctively, feeling a knot of fear tighten in your chest, unsure if the sound is one of welcome or derision. Beside him, your foster mother watches you with a gaze that is both stern and curiously probing, her eyes missing nothing, dissecting your every nervous twitch, then the jostling, the rough play of the foster siblings, their unfamiliar language, a jumble of sounds you can't fully comprehend, presses in around you. One child pokes you with a stick, another snatches at your meager satchel. Their actions, a confusing mix of challenge and curiosity. You feel a profound, aching disorientation. Every sound, every glance, every touch is an unfamiliar variable, demanding a quick, instinctive reaction. This isn't home. This isn't your mother's comforting hand or your father's familiar voice. This is a new, demanding world, far from your birth hearth, where the rules are unwritten and your place is yet to be earned. You feel an urgent, primal need to belong, to find some anchor in this sea of strangeness, even as fear whispers doubts in your ear. In this moment of overwhelming sensory input and emotional vulnerability, you realize that forging a place in a new world requires not just strength. Years have passed, a blur of changing seasons and endless labor. The stranger you once were has faded, replaced by a man deeply woven into the fabric of this home. You feel the familiar, comforting rhythm of the waves lapping against the hull of the fishing boat, the salty tang of the sea on your lips. Your hands, now calloused and strong, work with practiced ease, mending a fishing net, the coarse twine of familiar texture against your skin. You feel the rough, guiding touch of your foster father's hands as he teaches you a new knot. His gruff instructions, a familiar sound that brings a quiet warmth to your chest, a stark contrast to the biting cold of the autumn air. You remember the comforting warmth of your foster mother's, sometimes gruff affection, the quiet concern in her eyes when you were ill, the hearty food she always set before you. You recall the camaraderie forged through countless shared chores, the laughter and the silent understanding with your foster siblings as you faced the daily dangers of the wild. This isn't just a homestead, it's a family, a chosen kin that has filled the hollow where your birth hearth used to be. But now, a chilling shadow falls across this hard-won peace. Whispers, carried on the crisp autumn air, speak of a rival clan, their longships seen too close to your foster family's shores, their intentions hostile, and with that, the agony begins. Your birth family's interests, those distant, half-forgotten ties, suddenly diverge sharply from the immediate, tangible safety of your foster family. You feel the agonizing tear within your very soul, a visceral rending, as conflicting loyalties pull you in two impossible directions. The rough wool of your tunic feels heavy, suffocating, as if pressed by an unseen weight. The cold dread of choosing, of having to betray one set of bonds for another, burns in your gut. You walk along the windswept shore, the endless gray of the sea mirroring the turmoil in your heart. Every gust of wind on your face, every distant cry of a gull, seems to echo the silent weight of a decision that demands a profound sacrifice. This chosen bond, this fosterage that gave you a new life, a new identity, now demands a loyalty as absolute and consuming as any tie of blood. There is no easy path, no way to emerge from this choice unscathed. You are no longer a boy, a stranger. You are a man bound by powerful, invisible chains, forced to sever one of your own deeply cherished connections for the sake of another, standing on the precipice of such an impossible choice, where the heart is pulled in two. You understand that some of life's deepest bonds, though freely chosen, the longhouse, usually so familiar, feels transformed, almost suffocating. It's adorned with fresh hangings, gleaming polished wood, and vibrant woven tapestries, but the festive air is laced with an undeniable tension that hums beneath the surface of the celebration. You stand, feeling the heavy brocade of your new ceremonial dress scratch uncomfortably against your neck. Its rich fabric, a luxurious burden. The scent of roasting meat and fine ale, usually a welcome aroma, now feels cloying, overwhelming, mingling with the faint, unfamiliar perfume of the room. Across the smoky hall, through the dancing haze from the central hearth, your eyes find him, your new husband. He is a chieftain, powerful and imposing, but utterly unfamiliar. His face a stern mask of authority, his eyes assessing the assembled guests. Your gaze darts around the room, catching the glint of silver and gold on the arms of his retainers, the sharp gleam of their weapons. You hear the low murmur of negotiations, the hushed, rapid exchanges of value and promise. Even now, after the vows have been spoken, the clink of silver bracelets, the soft thud of exchanged gifts. These are the true sounds of your marriage, the physical manifestation of an alliance. The exchange of vows, a formal, almost emotionless recitation, still echoes in your ears. You are a living oath, a strategic alliance embodied. Every thread of your being now tied to this new house, this new clan. You feel the cold, assessing gazes of his retainers, men whose loyalty is to him, not to you, studying you, weighing your worth. The unfamiliar weight of new responsibilities, of being a chieftain's wife, presses down on you. A heavy cloak you must wear. You feel the sudden, overwhelming loss of your old life, your familiar people, your birth hearth, a sharp, aching void in your chest that no amount of rich brocade or gleaming silver can fill. You are a pawn. You understand, in a grander game of power, bound by a promise made for you, not by you, a silent sacrifice for the strength of your family. You are no longer merely yourself. You are a bridge, a living testament to a pact, a woman whose future is irrevocably shaped by the oaths of others and the relentless, unspoken demands of power in this gilded cage of alliance and obligation. You realize that some promises, though they may bind families together, can simultaneously unravel the very fabric of one's individual destiny, leaving only a profound sense of duty and a quiet, yearning ache for a life unchosen. The news arrives on a cold, biting wind, cutting through the community like a razor. It's a whisper, then a confirmation, then a roar of disbelief and sorrow. A sworn brother betrayed, his life taken by a treacherous hand. You feel the initial shock, a cold wave washing over you, leaving you numb. But that numbness quickly gives way to a burning, bitter taste in your mouth. The raw, metallic tang of injustice. It's a flavor that coats your tongue, refusing to be swallowed. A constant reminder of the profound wrong. The familiar scent of wood smoke and damp earth now feels tainted, suffocating. You watch as the grim, unyielding determination settles over the faces of your kin, a hardened mask that promises retribution. The low, rhythmic scrape of a whetstone against steel fills the quiet air, a relentless, chilling sound. It's the sound of a blade, perhaps your own, being sharpened, not for battle, but for vengeance. You feel the heavy thud of a shield being gripped, the rough wood and cold iron solid and unforgiving in strong hands. Eyes, usually filled with camaraderie or the quiet weariness of labor, now gleam with a fierce, unwavering light, seeing only the path of retribution. The cold, biting air whips across your face as you move through the forest, a clandestine journey under a moonless sky. Each step you take is deliberate, silent, your boots barely disturbing the fallen leaves and damp earth. You smell the sharp scent of pine needles, the rich, dark aroma of decaying leaves, and the metallic tang of adrenaline. You track the enemy, a silent shadow, your senses heightened. Every snap of a twig, every rustle in the undergrowth, a potential clue. Your breath comes in shallow, controlled gasps, each one a silent prayer for strength, for precision. Then the sudden, brutal explosion of violence. A guttural shout, cut short. The terrifying shing of steel. The sickening thud of impact. A sound that vibrates through the very ground beneath your feet, resonating deep in your bones. It's quick, ruthless, efficient. A life taken, a debt of blood demanded, paid with unwavering, cold resolve. The air, already thick with the scent of pine, is now tinged with the unmistakable metallic smell of fresh blood, stark and primal, as the echoes of violence fade into the stillness of the forest. A a profound emptiness, a hollow ache, settles deep within your chest. The thirst for vengeance, once so burning and all-consuming, has been quenched, but it leaves behind a cold, unsettling void. The unbreakable bond that demanded this retribution has been honored, but at a terrible price. In the stark aftermath of vengeance, you realize that while some debts of blood may be paid, the profound human cost often leaves a deeper. Years have passed since the last blood was shed, since a blade was drawn in vengeance, since a solemn promise was whispered into the biting wind. Yet, the echoes of those oaths, of blood brotherhoods forged and broken, of fosterage loyalties tested, and sometimes tragically torn, still ripple through the generations. A palpable presence in the very air you breathe. You sit by the flickering hearth, its comforting crackle a steady counterpoint to the deep, resonant voice of the skald. The scent of wood smoke, rich and ancient, clings to the rough timbers of the longhouse, a smell that is the very essence of home and history. The skald, his eyes alight with the fire of memory, recounts the deeds, the triumphs, and the terrible costs. His words, a living tapestry, paint vivid pictures of ancestors, of their fierce loyalties and their bitter betrayals. You feel the stories, not just hear them. You feel the pride swell in your chest at tales of courage, and a quiet, chilling dread at narratives of treachery and vengeance. You watch an old woman nearby, her gnarled hands, strong with a lifetime of labor, gently smoothing the rough texture of a saga scroll. Its worn parchment, a tangible link to the past. Her gaze, distant and wise, holds the weight of countless winters, of lives lived and bonds observed. Beside you, a young warrior, his face still smooth, his beard barely grown, listens intently, his eyes fixed on the skald. You see the somber pride stirring within him, a silent vow taking root as he absorbs the tales of honor and obligation. He clutches the hilt of his axe, an almost unconscious gesture, understanding that these stories are not mere entertainment, but living lessons, blueprints for his own future, for the promises he will one day make, and the debts he may one day be forced to pay. Later, under the vast, indifferent sky, you find yourself walking towards a new grave mound, its fresh earth a dark scar on the familiar landscape. The cold, biting air whips around you, rustling the sparse grass. You pause, contemplating the quiet finality of the earth. These bonds, for good or ill, are the bedrock of your history, of everyone's history here. They are the invisible sinews that bind you, shaping your identity, defining your honor, and dictating your very understanding of what it means to be human in this harsh, yet beautiful world. You are forever bound by the silent weight of promises made and kept, or broken, and the enduring legacy they leave behind. In these deep echoes of the past, you realize that the most profound and lasting structures in life are not made of stone and timber, but forged from the unwavering, sometimes